Imagine standing on a quiet hill in Europe 1,000 years ago. There are no towers, no drawbridges, no fairy tale castles. Just open land stretching toward the horizon. Now watch what happens. Within centuries, that empty hill transforms into a wooden fortress, then into a massive stone stronghold. Later, it becomes an elegant palace, and eventually, one of the most famous tourist attractions in the world. European castles didn't simply appear. They evolved, again and again, for over 1,000 years. Every new generation rebuilt them for a different purpose. Some were made to conquer, some to rule, some to impress, and some were built simply because people had fallen in love with the idea of castles. This is the story of how European castles changed through time. Long before medieval castles existed, Europe already had fortifications. During the Roman Empire, soldiers built large stone forts to guard important roads, rivers, and coastlines. These weren't castles in the way we imagine today. There were no noble families living inside, no grand halls, no royal bedrooms. They were military bases, built purely for defense. Many of these forts survived long after the Roman Empire disappeared. Centuries later, new rulers looked at those thick stone walls and realized something important. Why build from scratch when you could build on what already existed? Some of Europe's earliest castles quite literally grew inside old Roman forts. It was the beginning of a very long evolution. As Europe became divided into smaller kingdoms, power became local. Every lord needed a place to protect his land. The solution was surprisingly simple. Build a large mound of earth, place a wooden tower on top, surround it with fences and a ditch. This design became known as the Motte-and-Bailey Castle. It wasn't beautiful, it wasn't comfortable, but it could be built incredibly fast, sometimes in only a matter of weeks. For invading armies like the Normans, speed meant everything. Arrive, build, control the land, repeat. These early castles completely changed the landscape of medieval Europe. But wood had one major weakness. It burned, it rotted, and during a siege, it rarely survived for long. So castles began another transformation. Wood slowly disappeared, stone took its place, tower after tower became larger, walls became thicker, gatehouses became stronger, moats became deeper. At the centre stood the keep, the strongest part of the entire castle. The keep wasn't just a military tower. It was the lord's home, the treasury, the storage room, sometimes even a chapel. And if every other defence failed, it became the final place to make a last stand. For the first time, castles weren't temporary military camps. They became permanent symbols of power. By the 13th century, castles reached what many historians consider their golden age. They were no longer just one tower surrounded by walls. They had become carefully planned fortresses, multiple layers of defences, massive gatehouses, drawbridges, barbicans, watchtowers, inner walls, outer walls. Every entrance was designed to slow attackers. Every corner could be defended from above. Some castles became so large they looked like small cities. Hundreds of people lived inside. Knights, servants, blacksmiths, priests, cooks, stable workers, children. Even gardens, wells, kitchens, workshops, and chapels could all exist within the walls. Life inside a castle wasn't only about preparing for war. It was about running an entire community. But something interesting was happening. As kingdoms became more stable, rulers started asking a different question. What if a castle could be comfortable? Large fireplaces appeared. Private bedrooms became more common. Great halls grew larger and more luxurious. Windows let in more light. Courtyards became elegant gathering spaces. Gardens spread beyond the walls. A castle was no longer just a fortress. It had become a home, a government building, and perhaps most importantly, a public display of wealth and status. Its appearance could be just as important as its defences. Then, everything changed again. Not because castles became weaker, but because weapons became stronger. The arrival of gunpowder transformed warfare forever. For centuries, high stone walls had protected Europe's rulers. Now cannons could smash through them. Tall towers suddenly became easy targets. The very features that once made castles powerful became dangerous weaknesses. Military engineers had to rethink everything. Walls became lower, thicker, wider. Fortifications spread outward instead of upward. The age of the medieval castle was coming to an end. But castles themselves didn't disappear. They simply found a new purpose. Instead of building fortresses for war, Europe's rulers began building residences for prestige. Castles slowly evolved into magnificent palaces. Beautiful staircases replaced defensive towers. Large windows overlooked formal gardens. Elegant courtyards welcomed guests instead of soldiers. Comfort became more important than survival. The silhouette of the castle remained. But inside, everything had changed. Centuries later, something unexpected happened. Europe became fascinated with its own medieval past. Old castles were restored, ruins were rebuilt, and entirely new castles were constructed, not for battle, but for imagination. Some looked as though they belonged in fairy tales, perched on mountains, wrapped in mist, filled with soaring towers and dramatic rooftops. These castles weren't trying to defend kingdoms, they were celebrating history itself. Today, castles continue to evolve. Many have become museums. Some are still royal residences. Others welcome millions of visitors every year. People come not because they fear what's behind the walls, but because they're curious about the stories they contain. Every tower, every stone, every gate, every ruined wall represents another chapter in a journey that lasted more than 1,000 years. The castle survived not because it stayed the same, it survived because it was willing to change. From Roman fort to wooden stronghold, to mighty fortress, to royal palace, to cultural icon. European castles remind us that history is never frozen. Even the strongest walls are always being rebuilt by time.